Revealed, incredible Maid exposed her husband's dark scheme, saving her billionaire boss' life. Maria's heart raced as she dusted the grand chandelier in Mr. Harris's mansion. Each crystal sparkled like dreams waiting to be chased. She could almost feel the weight of opportunity in her hands, a glimmer of hope for a future far brighter than the shadows of her past. As she meticulously wiped down the furniture, her mind drifted to 7-year-old Sophia, her laughter ringing like music in her ears, a reminder of the joy worth fighting for. Yet fear gripped her every morning when she left Sophia with the neighbor, praying her estranged husband wouldn't come knocking with his erratic demands. In their crisp suburban community, everyone knew everyone's business, leaving Maria feeling like an outsider. She was the embodiment of the American dream, working hard, saving for her daughter's future, yet she remained shackled by social prejudice. The neighborhoods gleamed with prosperity, while she swept floors filled with dust and anxiety. Every afternoon, as she folded laundry, the weight of worry would descend like a heavy blanket. Would there ever be a day when Sophia wouldn't have to worry about her father's unpredictable outbursts? During one particular evening in the lavish estate, while sprucing up the sunroom, Maria overheard voices floating from the study. Curious, she edged closer, holding her breath. Her stomach dropped when she recognized her husband's voice, speaking in hushed tones, laced with desperation. She heard him mention Mr. Harris's name, and anxiety washed over her like a sudden cold wave. The man who provided her a chance for stability was being targeted by the very person she should protect most. The confession sent goosebumps down her arms. Torn between loyalty to her family and the safety of her boss, Maria's mind swirled with questions. Could she confront her husband? Would he lash out? Whatever sanity remained in their relationship risked breaking amid the turmoil. Her heart ached not just for Sophia and her future, but also for the man who had unknowingly become a guardian to them both. Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system, and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. As she wrestled with her decision, Maria couldn't ignore the drumbeat of her heart urging her to act. A choice loomed ahead: protect her husband, clinging to the hope he might still change, or come clean, risking her family's fragile peace. The moment intensified when she heard a crash coming from the hallway, her pulse quickening with dread. Had he arrived at the estate with the sinister intent she'd only begun to uncover? Maria braced herself as she stepped toward the noise, grappling with the reality of familial ties dangling precariously. All she had was the flicker of Sophia's laughter echoing in the back of her mind, a sweet reminder of what truly mattered. The tension thickened like storm clouds, and just as she prepared to confront her husband's dark scheme, he swung the door open with fury burning in his eyes. Her breath hitched, the world narrowing down to that electrifying moment. What would she choose, and would it be enough to protect the one she loved most? Maria stood frozen, her breath caught in her throat, as her husband's furious gaze met hers. The world around them blurred, leaving only the two of them swathed in a tense silence that crackled with unspoken accusations and fear. She could see the familiar lines of anger etched across his face, a reflection of all the chaos that had slowly unraveled their family. "What are you doing here?" he thundered, voice low and threatening. His eyes flickered with a mix of anger and something darker, something that sent chills racing down her spine. I was just cleaning," Maria stammered, her heart pounding like a drum. Yet inside her, the urgency to protect Mr. Harris swelled. Her mind raced back to the whispers she had overheard. "You shouldn't be discussing him." He stepped closer, invading her space, and the air became thick with tension. You don't get to tell me what to do, Maria. You think you can just sweep this under the rug? You're living in his house, making money off the back of someone you should be loyal to. I'm trying to protect Sophia, she shouted back, finding a spark of defiance in her trembling voice. You're putting us all in danger. His expression shifted, momentarily caught off guard. Then his fury returned, more intense than before. Do you honestly think he cares about you? You're just a maid to him, a nobody. No, Maria said, her voice steadying as she realized the truth she had fought to acknowledge. He has been more of a father to Sophia than you ever were. She took a breath, summoning strength from deeper within. Whatever plans you have, I won't let you hurt him. I won't allow you to ruin our lives again. He laughed, a bitter, cold sound that made her heart sink. And what are you going to do? Run to him? Tell him what I'm planning. The thought terrified her. What if Mr. Harris turned her away for exposing her husband? But she couldn't shake the fear of what her husband would do if she stayed silent. Maybe, she said, her voice rasping in her throat. Maybe I should. An unsettling silence stretched between them, filled with unspoken threats and past grievances. Then, her husband stepped back, the anger flashing in his eyes slowly being replaced with a calculating look. You think you can expose me? You think he'll believe you over me? His words hung in the air, a challenge that tugged at Maria's insides. Would Mr. Harris believe her? She couldn't bear the thought of losing the only stability she had fought for. But more importantly, she couldn't let her husband continue on this path. Maybe he would, she whispered, her heart racing. He has seen what you're capable of. I'm not scared of you anymore. With a twisted smile, he replied, You'll regret that. I'll make sure of it. Without another word, he stormed out, slamming the door behind him. The sound echoed in the quiet hallway, leaving her breathless and shaken. Maria's reality spun around her like a tornado, both terrified and resolute. She had to warn Mr. Harris. She had to act before it was too late. As she rushed toward the staircase, adrenaline coursing through her veins, determination replaced the fear that had once tied her down. But as she reached for her phone to call him, a thought struck her. What if he didn't want to hear from her? What if she had put Sophia's future in jeopardy by getting involved in this? Her hand hovered over the screen, trembling with uncertainty. Maria had stepped into a dangerous game, one where the stakes were higher than she had ever imagined. Would she find the courage to confront Mr. Harris and reveal the truth? Or would her husband's threats trap her in a web of fear she couldn't escape? The question lingered, weighing heavily on her heart as she stood poised at the edge of action, the fate of them all hanging in the balance. With shaky hands, Maria finally pressed the call button, her heart racing as the phone rang. Each beep echoed her fear, inching closer to the inevitable. What would she say? How would he react? The line clicked, and a familiar voice greeted her. Mr. Harris, Maria breathed, her voice trembling. I need to talk. It's urgent. Maria? Is everything all right? Concern laced his tone, sending a rush of warmth through her. No, she replied, urgency spilling over. It's about my husband. You need to listen to me. There was a pause on the other end, silence thick with tension. Where are you? I'll come to you. It was a relief to know he was willing to meet her. I'm at the house, she said, panic spilling through her thoughts at the memory of her husband's fury and what he had implied. She had little time. Can you come now? I'll be there in 5 minutes, he said, before disconnecting. She clenched the phone tightly, staring at the door her husband had burst through only moments ago. Each second stretched into eternity as she waited, her heart pounding like a war drum. Maria paced the small area, glancing out the window at the street, willing herself to believe that help was near. The heavy sound of footsteps approached, and her breath hitched as she saw Mr. Harris pull into the driveway. He stepped out swiftly, his tall figure cutting through the evening light as he made his way to the front door. Maria opened it before he could knock, her eyes pleading for understanding. "What is going on?" he asked, scanning her face for distress. "Inside, please." She ushered him in, shutting the door quickly behind them. "Maria, you look pale," he said, reaching out as if to touch her arm. "Are you in danger?" "It's not just me. It's Sophia. He is planning something dangerous, and I need you to believe me when I say the police need to be involved," he interrupted, seriousness darkening his gaze. "No," Maria pleaded. "Not yet. If he suspects I'm telling you, he will hurt us both. Please, I need you to hear the whole story first." A flicker of understanding crossed his face, his expression softening for a moment. "All right, but we are not leaving this to chance. Go on." Breathing deeply, Maria recounted every moment of her husband's rage, the threats that danced dangerously close to her heart. As she spoke, she saw Mr. Harris's expression shift from concern to fury. "Does he have any indication that you might expose him?" Mr. Harris asked, eyes narrowing in thought. "I don't know," she whispered, panic clawing at her throat. "But he is capable of terrible things." "Then we need a plan." A wave of gratitude swept over her. Finally, she felt a glimmer of hope. But then, doubt washed in. What if this backfires? What if I ruin everything for Sophia? "Maria," Mr. Harris said, stepping closer. "Staying silent might just cost you everything. We won't let that happen." She nodded, resolve settling over her like a shield. But as they strategized, a soft sound suddenly echoed from the hallway, the unmistakable click of a door opening. Panic surged through her. Had her husband returned? Just as she moved to look, Mr. Harris held her back gently. "Stay here," he instructed, his voice low. Her chest tightened as he peered toward the hallway, searching for the source of the noise. The unease in the air thickened like fog. Would her husband barge in with wrath, or had he already laid a trap? "Maria," Mr. Harris said, his voice edged with urgency, "you're sure you want to go through with this?" She took a breath, ready to confront whatever awaited them. The choice was clear now: stand her ground or lose it all. But before she could reply, footsteps echoed back from the hallway, and her heart raced with the fear of discovery. "Maria?" Her husband's voice called out, cold and menacing. The moment of truth was upon them, and there was no turning back. Was she prepared to face the storm? Maria's heart raced, each beat pounding in her ears like a distant drum. The sharpness of her husband's voice sliced through the tension, a chilling reminder of the darkness lurking just outside this room. She exchanged a worried glance with Mr. Harris, his steady presence offering a flicker of strength amidst her spiraling fear. "Stay behind me," he urged, his voice barely above a whisper. She nodded, feeling the gravity of their situation press against her chest. Her husband's footsteps grew louder, each one shattering the fragile hope they had tried to build. As the door swung open, revealing the shadow of her husband in the hallway, Maria could see the smirk curling at the corners of his lips. It was a look that spoke volumes, manipulative, knowing, and filled with the promise of chaos. "Why are you just standing there?" he scoffed, eyeing Mr. Harris with contempt. "You don't belong here." Maria stepped forward, wanting to shield Mr. Harris from the onslaught of her husband's fury, while also trying to project some measure of confidence. "We were just talking," she said, her voice steady despite the trembling in her hands. "I needed his help with a project." His eyes glinted with suspicion as he locked his gaze onto hers, dissecting every part of her expression. "Is that right? Your project?" A laugh escaped him, low and menacing. "What a good little wife you are, chatting with this man while I'm not home." How typical. Mr. Harris shifted defensively, taking a step closer to Maria, ready to protect her. "It's nothing like that. We were discussing." "Shut up," her husband barked, cutting him off with a rage that made the hair on the back of her neck prickle. You don't get to speak about things you don't understand. Maria's stomach churned as she felt the tension escalate. She had to act quickly, not just for herself but for Sophia. I need you to stop, please, she implored, stepping ahead of Mr. Harris. All the shouting won't change anything. We can figure this out together. A flicker crossed her husband's face. There was a moment, just a fraction of a second, where doubt seeped in. Could he sense the determination within her? Could he see that she was no longer the timid wife who would cower in fear? But it dissipated quickly, replaced by a colder rage. Together? He echoed with a bitter mockery. You think I'd ever work with you on anything? You crossed a line, Maria. You need to remember who holds the power here. Maria's heart sank. The words rattled her, but in the depths of her fear, anger ignited. She had already lost too much. And what power do you have left? She shot back, surprising herself with the confidence in her voice. You think I'm scared of your threats? You think I'll remain silent just because you say so? For a moment, she thought she saw real fear in his eyes, and it rekindled her hope. But it was swallowed quickly by something more sinister. Watch yourself, he seethed, stepping closer. You have no idea what I'm capable of. Mr. Harris took a protective step, placing himself between Maria and her husband. Enough of this. If you just listen. Her husband interrupted, his voice rising, reverberating off the walls. What is to listen to? You're talking about things you know nothing about, and you have no idea who you're dealing with. With each passing second, Maria felt the walls closing in. She had to act before the storm reached its peak. It's about time we put an end to this dangerous game, she declared, her voice gaining strength. For Sophia. For us. The tension was palpable, thick enough to slice through. Her husband regarded her coldly, uncertainty creeping into his demeanor. What are you planning? He asked suspiciously. Maria held her ground, knowing the stakes had never been higher. You'll have to find out soon enough, she challenged. Before she could grasp what was happening, her husband laughed again, this time not in mockery but in disbelief. You think you have the upper hand now? How naive. The weight of his words fell over her, but Maria sensed the shift. This was not just about moments of rage. This was a battle for freedom, for her daughter's safety, and it was just beginning. In that charged silence, Maria knew one thing: she would not back down again. But as her husband's wicked smile lingered, she couldn't shake the feeling that his response was about to change everything. And deep down, she wondered what she had awakened. Maria's heart began to thud harder, as if it could break free of her chest at any moment. The air thickened, heavy with a mix of fear and determination. Her husband's laughter echoed around the room, a twisted sound that gripped her. She could feel the tension in Mr. Harris beside her, a coiled spring ready to launch into action if needed. What do you know about me, Maria? He taunted, taking a deliberate step forward. Each movement was calculated, somehow making him seem larger than life, his persona enveloping the very space they stood in. You think you can just walk away from me? Think again. She felt the walls pressing in again, threatening to swallow her whole, but she couldn't let that happen. It was as if a flicker of light had ignited within her, pushing her fear aside. I don't need to walk away, she said, her voice steady. I need to stand up for what is right. For Sophia. His eyes narrowed, a predatory glint surfacing. This isn't just about you anymore. You don't know what lies ahead. I know enough to realize I can't keep living like this, Maria replied, her voice unwavering. Each word felt like a battle cry against the looming storm. She glanced at Mr. Harris, and for a split second, she saw him nod. His eyes spoke of support and understanding, of the unspoken vow to protect. You're a fool, her husband sneered, dismissing her growing resolve. You think you can take me on and win? All this chatter is just smoke and mirrors. You're completely blind to my true power. A chill ran through her. What did he mean? The familiarity of his words, dark words, threatening words wrapped around her throat. But she couldn't afford to show her weakness. Not now. Not ever again. Maybe you're the one who is blind, Maria replied, to the fact that your threats can no longer control me. You've hidden behind your anger for too long. I won't let you do that anymore. Her husband halted, surprise flickering across his features. Was that uncertainty? For the first time, doubt seeped into his expression. It was a small crack in the armor he had so carefully built around himself. Could that be enough for her to push further? He gathered himself quickly, masking that fleeting vulnerability with a renewed, dark determination. You honestly think that you can change me? You don't understand the lengths I'm willing to go to. I always get what I want, Maria. Always. Then let us see how far you're really willing to go, she countered, taking a step closer, fueled by an uncontrollable surge of bravery. Traces of fear mingled with determination in the air, and as she stood face to face with her husband, she felt more alive than she had in years. This wasn't a game anymore. It was a fight for her future. For Sophia's future. The silence lingered as they stared each other down, the tension electrifying. Behind her, Mr. Harris remained a steadfast figure, ready to step in should things escalate further. Maria could see him subtly shift, ready to support her, but she wanted to prove she could face this storm alone. Then, without warning, her husband's expression twisted into something else entirely, a smug satisfaction, as though he had been waiting for this moment. You think you're in control? He laughed, a harsh sound echoing through the room. You'll regret those words, Maria. You'll regret every single one of them. The room felt like a taut string ready to snap at any moment. Maria's heart raced as she considered her next move. An overwhelming sense of dread washed over her. Did she truly know what she had uncovered? What she had awakened? As her husband's laugh faded into a dangerous silence, she couldn't shake the feeling that something terrible was lurking in the shadows, a truth ready to be unearthed, something that might change everything for her and Sophia. Would that truth be the key to her freedom, or would it unleash a greater evil? The next moment could determine everything. What could possibly come next? The weight of silence pressed heavily on Maria's shoulders. Her husband loomed before her, a figure shadowed by malice, and the air crackled with the unspoken promise of chaos. Maria stood still, her resolve solidifying in the face of his twisted satisfaction. She needed to hold on to that flicker of light within her, the one that had ignited her courage back in the kitchen that day. What do you think you can do to me? He sneered, stepping closer, invading her space like a storm cloud ready to burst. I think you're underestimating me, Maria said, her voice steady. And I'm not afraid of you anymore. You can't bully me into submission. Ah, but you'll learn, he retorted, eyes gleaming with a dangerous intensity. You're walking a line you don't even see. And when you fall, Sophia will fall with you. The mention of her daughter sent a jolt through Maria's core. Her breath caught. A reminder of everything that was at stake. You wouldn't dare, wouldn't I? He grinned, his confidence simmering like a pot ready to boil over. I have plans, Maria. Plans you can't fathom. I kept my most dangerous secrets buried for a reason. You want to confront me? You might just wish you'd stayed quiet. Heat surged in Maria's chest, but she willed it into calm. What more could you possibly threaten me with? Your lies? Your manipulation? I'm not the same woman you once knew. Every heartbeat echoed like a drum. Mr. Harris shifted behind her, his presence a reassuring weight. She could feel the tingle of energy thrumming in the air, like the calm just before a storm. She didn't want to pull back now. Fine, her husband said, his voice dropping into a chilling whisper. Let us say you're right. You're stronger than before. But that strength? It'll only make your fall more beautiful. Who are you trying to scare? Maria challenged, the steadiness of her voice surprising even her. You underestimate the power of a mother. I will protect Sophia. Do your worst. As the defiance fell from her lips, something shifted in the room. Mr. Harris leaned closer, sensing the tension, waiting to pounce on the slightest hint of violence. But even as Maria faced her husband, an uncomfortable tug of doubt pulled at her heart. Did she have the strength to withstand whatever he unleashed? Her husband's features hardened again, like stone. Strength? You think that's what will save you? His laugh was a terrible thing, dark and cutting. Something horrible is coming. When it does, you'll understand just how deep my roots go. You think this is all just a fight between us? Oh no, my dear Maria, this is just the beginning. With that proclamation, he turned and took a step towards the door, his back to her. The moment felt like a hair's breadth from explosion. Maria's heart raced, the familiar panic clawing at her throat again. Wait! She called out, anger surging through her veins. They were never too far from darkness, and she needed answers. What do you mean? Tell me what you're planning. He paused, shoulders stiffening, his grin still lingering like a ghost. You'll find out soon enough. I promise, by the time I'm finished, it'll all be too late to save yourself. Then, he exited, leaving behind a whirlwind of terror mixed with a hint of anticipation. Maria turned to Mr. Harris, her hands trembling. What does that even mean? He met her gaze, seriousness etched in his expression. We need to get to the bottom of this fast. I don't think he is bluffing. Maria felt a chill creep down her spine, as anxiety knotted in her gut. What deep, dark reservoir of fear was her husband hiding? It was time to dig deeper, to unearth truths that had long been buried. But the question now was where to even start. Would she be ready for the truth she might uncover? As she stared out the window at the storm gathering in the horizon, a thought nagged at her. If dark secrets were lurking, could they be her saving grace, or would they lead her deeper into despair? Maria's heart thudded in her chest, a relentless drumbeat echoing her thoughts. After the stormy confrontation with her husband, fear wrapped around her like a thick fog. She needed clarity. She wasn't ready to unravel just how dangerous he had become, but one thing was clear: action was imperative. Let us search his study, she said, determination seeping into her voice. Mr. Harris nodded, sharp eyes assessing the gravity of the situation. The study was where her husband kept his secrets, a labyrinth of dark corners and hidden truths. She could envision the room, each book, every paper, possibly a piece of the puzzle. They crept through the dimly lit hallways, the air thick with a mix of trepidation and hope. The house shivered in silence, as if it sensed their unease. Each creak of the floorboards beneath their feet seemed amplified, reverberating through her soul. Maria's pulse quickened, adrenaline rushing through her veins as they reached the door. With a deep breath, she turned the knob and stepped inside. The study was a reflection of her husband's mind, chaotic, filled with stacks of papers and half-open files, all gathered like reluctant witnesses. Her eyes swept the shelves, the glowing light from the desk lamp illuminating the dust motes dancing in the air. Check there. Mr. Harris pointed toward a locked drawer beneath the desk. Anxiety twisted in Maria's stomach as she approached. She could feel her husband's presence lingering in the room, heavy and oppressive. There's always a key hidden somewhere, she murmured, scanning the desk surface. A moment later, her fingers brushed against a small, wrought iron key tucked beneath a frame of their wedding photo. It was surreal to see happiness captured, contrasting sharply with the turmoil of now. Here it is, she explained, her voice a sharp whisper. With trembling hands, she unlocked the drawer. Inside lay stacks of documents, each one more sinister than the last. Schemes of manipulation, names of potential targets, all penned in her husband's meticulous handwriting. A chill crept down her spine as she uncovered a document stamped with a name she recognized, an old business associate of her husband, now embroiled in financial ruin. "What is this?" Mr. Harris leaned in closer, his expression shifting from curiosity to horror as he scanned the pages. "He has been setting people up, manipulating this entire situation." Maria felt a knot form in her throat. This was more than a personal conflict. It was a web of deceit that entangled innocent lives. He is using leverage, playing a game with people's lives. "But why?" Mr. Harris asked, confusion knitting his brow. "What does he hope to gain from this?" Before Maria could respond, her phone buzzed. It was a message from Sophia's school, a warning about an unexpected early release, the realization striking like lightning. "I have to get to her," she said frantically, rushing to grab her bag. "Wait, Maria," Mr. Harris said, his voice firm. "We need to leave together. Your husband is dangerous, and he won't stop at anything to hurt you or Sophia." "Then we can't waste time," she replied, resolve solidifying in her chest. "I won't let him control our lives anymore. I will protect my daughter." Stepping back into the hall, Maria felt the weight of the world shift. The sun was setting, shadows creeping in as if wrapping around her fears. But she refused to yield to them. "Let us hurry," Mr. Harris urged, keeping pace beside her. "We need to outsmart him." As they reached the front door, Maria paused, glancing back at the study. The walls carried shadows, secrets that she was just starting to grasp. Would the truth set her free, or plunge her deeper into danger? She felt a tremor of doubt, but brushed it aside like cobwebs, focused only on one thing: grabbing her daughter, and discovering just how deep her husband's betrayal ran. Could she confront the darkness and emerge victorious? The questions lingered like the last rays of sunlight, suspended in the air, waiting for resolution as the night settled in. Maria's heart raced as she and Mr. Harris stepped outside. The evening air hit her like a cold slap, a stark contrast to the warmth of the October sun that had just dipped below the horizon. Shadows mingled with the dusk, warning her that time was running out. Every second felt heavy with importance. "Which way to the school?" she asked, her voice edged with urgency, her mind racing ahead to every possible scenario. "Just a few blocks down," Mr. Harris replied, determination written across his face. "But we need to be careful. He might have eyes out. We can't take any chances." As they moved with purpose, Maria couldn't shake the feeling that they were being watched. She glanced at every passerby, her instincts screaming. She was leaving the confines of the study, the weighty knowledge still fresh in her mind, a reminder of the treachery nestled in their lives. How could her husband have spiraled so far? "Do you think he knows we found those papers?" she asked, nervously fiddling with the strap of her bag. "Maybe," Mr. Harris replied, his tone grave. "But whether he does or not, we won't let him intimidate us. You've seen what he is capable of, and I can't stress enough how important it is that we keep moving." She nodded, pulling her jacket tighter against the cool air while her mind spiraled through the painful reality of her marriage. The thought of her daughter's innocence, intertwined with her husband's dark games, twisted in her gut. What kind of father would play such ruthless games with people's lives? For money? For power? Did he think they wouldn't notice? Suddenly, the rhythmic humming of headlights cutting through the dark jolted her back to the present. A car was approaching too fast, tires screeching against the pavement. Maria's heart sank, as it all made sense. Her husband had an army of resources, and fear washed over her like a tidal wave. "Get down!" Mr. Harris shouted, shoving Maria behind a nearby tree just as the vehicle whizzed past. She pressed her back against the bark, eyes wide, taking in every detail: the sleek black car and the shadowy figure behind the wheel. It felt like a scene from a nightmare. "Is that him?" she whispered, panic flavored bile rising in her throat. "I can't tell," Mr. Harris murmured, his brow furrowing as he strained to get a better look. They stood there, hearts pounding, waiting for a sign that danger had moved on. "I have to get to Sophia," Maria said, her voice fierce despite her trembling hands. "We can't let him keep us apart. If he finds out we're acting against him, he won't hesitate to use her as leverage." "Then we go now," Mr. Harris urged, glancing around. "Stay close." They sprinted into the evening shadows, weaving through the familiar streets that had once felt like home. Each step echoed with purpose, yet laced with dread. With every car that passed, every stranger walking by, Maria felt the walls closing in. Her husband was a force to be reckoned with, a man used to getting what he wanted at any cost. Door locked. She gasped as they reached the school, panic washing over her upon seeing the barricaded entrance. What if she is still inside? Mr. Harris darted to the side entrance, a tight knot of determination on his face. "Stay behind me," he instructed. As he pushed through the side door, Maria's heart lodged in her throat. The sounds of laughter and learning were muted now, fading into a distant memory. What would she tell Sophia? How could she explain this twisted reality sculpted by her husband? "Sophia?" she called, her voice rising above the quiet. "Sophia, can you hear me?" Nothing but silence replied, and with it came the creeping fear that her little girl might be in harm's way. "Where are you?" she pleaded, her heart racing. She could feel the ice coursing through her veins, the ache of time dragging its feet. Suddenly, the sound of a familiar voice reached her ears. Maria turned, hope igniting like a flame. "Mom?" In that moment, the brief flicker of solace shattered when they heard the echo of footsteps crossing the hallway, heavy and threatening. What had her husband set in motion? How far had deep-seated malevolence reached? Maria's breath quickened as dread settled back in, realizing a storm was coming, and it could swallow them whole. "Get ready," Mr. Harris warned, eyes narrowing instinctively. "We need to prepare for the worst." Would they be ready to face the truth lurking in the shadows? Maria's pulse quickened as she strained to hear Sophia's voice in the haunting stillness. The footsteps drew nearer, heavy and ominous, sending icy tendrils of fear creeping up her spine. What if her husband had sent someone to find her? To silence anyone attempting to expose his web of lies? "Don't move," Mr. Harris whispered, his breath barely escaping his lips as he pressed against the wall. Maria could feel his tension, a tightly coiled spring ready to snap at any moment. "Sophia?" she called again, urgency overtaking her fear. "Where are you?" From the depths of uncertainty, she heard a faint rustle, then a muffled giggle. It was a sound she recognized instantly, pure, innocent, filled with the joy of being a child. The weight of that sound anchored her, igniting a fierce determination deep within her. She couldn't lose her daughter to the chaos surrounding them. "Sophia? Please, can you come to me?" Maria's voice cracked as she fought to keep calm. Each second felt like an eternity, each echo of footsteps growing louder. Would she have the courage to face whatever danger lurked beyond the hallway? Suddenly, the laughter stopped. The air shifted, heavy with tension as the footsteps froze, and the silence stretched on. Maria's heart dropped. Was some sinister figure standing between them, and the girl who needed her most? "Mom?" Sophia's voice pierced the quiet again, this time closer. Relief washed over Maria, but just as quickly, it was replaced with dread. Had they really been found? "You can't come this way." "Stay," Maria started to say, but it cut off as the heavy footsteps resumed, advancing toward them. "Sophia, come here," Mr. Harris urged, and Maria's heart swelled with hope mixed with alarm. Would they reach her in time, or was it already too late? The door at the end of the hallway swung open, and there stood her daughter, eyes wide and innocent, with fear mirroring Maria's own. But behind her lurked a shadow, a figure Maria recognized all too well. Her husband. Maria, he drawled, the menace in his voice sending chills down her spine. I thought we had an understanding. Stay back, Maria shouted, instinctively stepping in front of Sophia. She could feel the adrenaline coursing through her veins, dwarfed by the sheer force of his presence. What you're doing is reckless, he continued, a twisted smile forming on his lips. You're putting our little girl in danger. Danger? You've always been the one shaping it, Maria hissed, her throat tight as the truth of their lives collided. Suddenly Mr. Harris shifted, chest puffing out with a protective stance. Let her go. This is between you and Maria. And not you, Maria interjected, taking a step forward, her hands trembling. You want to take my daughter. Not now, not ever. Really? He smirked, arrogance radiating from him like heat from a fire. You think you can walk away from this? You have no idea what I'm capable of. The tension felt palpable, like the moment before a storm. Maria could hear her heart beating wildly, a war drum rallying her courage. We're in this together, you know, he said, eyes narrowing. Whatever plans you have, it's clear you can't escape this. In that moment, she could feel the walls closing in, the shadows creeping closer. But fueled by the love for her daughter, she straightened her back. We'll fight you. I want to let you win. All I want is what is best for Sophia, he said, the smoothness of his voice frighteningly deceptive. Not your version of best, Maria countered, fists tightening at her sides. You'll never do anything that puts her first. As they stood across from each other, a silent storm brewing, Sophia remained hidden, trembling just behind Maria. This was a battle between darkness and light, a living nightmare unfolding right before her eyes. But could Maria protect Sophia? Or would her husband make his next move, a move designed to shatter their fragile world? Just then, the powerful sound of sirens wailed in the distance, approaching fast. Maria's breath caught in her throat. Help was on the way. But would it arrive in time to shield them from the tempest that had settled around them? How long do you think you can hold out? He taunted as the sirens grew louder. In that moment, Maria realized she had to be bold. Speak her truth, even if it put her all on the line. This was her chance. Just maybe, this could change everything. Your time is running out, she said, eyes unwavering. And I'm just getting started. Would the sirens be a salvation or a catalyst for chaos? Maria's heart raced as the sirens pierced through the air, cutting through the tension like a knife. Hope intertwined with fear, pushing her forward. You can't hide from the truth any longer, she said, her voice steady, almost resonating like a drum. Her husband's facade cracked for just a moment. The arrogance faded, replaced by something darker, something more furious. You think they'll believe you? He snapped, pointing an accusing finger. You think you have the power here? Maria felt heat rise within her. She remembered the whispers of doubt that had echoed in her mind, the moments she'd felt small and powerless. This isn't just about me anymore, she said, drawing a breath that filled her chest with courage. It's about Sophia. You will not manipulate her life anymore. Not with me standing here. As she stepped closer, Mr. Harris supported her, a wall of strength behind her. He took a step forward too, ready to defend her and Sophia. You need to leave her alone, he demanded. You're outnumbered here, and you've crossed too many lines. A flash of anger sparked in her husband's eyes, crazed and reckless. But deep down, she sensed that he was cornered. The uncertainty of the sirens approaching must be sinking in. He paused, taking a staggered breath. This isn't over, Maria, he seethed, glancing at Sophia, who stood wide-eyed behind her mother. I will always be a part of your lives. Not the way you've been, Maria shot back, her voice infused with a fierce clarity. Not if I can help it. Time felt suspended, the heartbeat of the world pulsing around them. Then, the door swung open, and a group of officers flooded into the hallway with swift precision, their uniforms sharp against the dim light. Maria's pulse quickened, a wave of relief crashing over her. This was her moment. No one would be able to stand in her way now. "Freeze! Step away from the child," one of the officers commanded, as they moved in to assess the scene. Her husband darted his gaze wildly between the officers and Maria, a shift of panic flickering across his face. "Don't you dare!" he yelled, hands raised. "They're here for her." He lunged forward, but the officers were faster. They intervened, pulling him back with swift authority. Maria felt every muscle in her body relax, every thread of fear unwinding. "Sophia, come here!" she shouted, arms extended, beckoning her daughter to safety. The little girl rushed into Maria's embrace, small fingers clenching tightly around her mother. Tears brimmed in Maria's eyes as she held Sophia close. As her husband struggled against the officers, fury turning to desperation, Maria watched. The past, those days clouded with chaos, began to clear. This was the culmination of everything: trust shattered, fears confronted, and a strength found in love. The officers handcuffed her husband, speaking into their radios, the urgency palpable in their voices. "You have to understand," he shouted, his voice warping with disbelief. "I did what was necessary." The LL never sighed with a maid. Maria stepped forward, her chin lifted high. "You underestimate the bonds of love and safety we foster. This is for Sophia." As they led him away, he turned back, eyes blazing with insult. "You'll regret this, Maria?" But just as steadily, she smiled back, filled with a sense of liberation. "No, it's you who will regret underestimating a mother's love." His furious expression danced into the distance, echoes of his rage trailing off as the officers secured him in the back of the squad car. With Sophia in her arms, Maria felt lighter, exhilaration coursing through her. Mr. Harris stepped beside her. "You did it," he said, all shining in his eyes. "You had the strength all along." "This is just the beginning," Maria declared, feeling the fire of hope ignite within her. "I will build a future for us, and nothing will keep us from it." As sirens faded into the night, she grasped Sophia tightly, her heart swelling with joy. Together, they stepped forward into the unknown, hands clasped tight like a shield. Whatever awaited them, they would face it together. And as the first rays of dawn began to light the horizon, Maria whispered to Sophia, "This is our new beginning." The weight of darkness had lifted, and with every step they took into the morning light, the promise of hope glimmered brightly, brighter than ever before. You need to subscribe now to catch every twist and turn in our incredible stories. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm and keep the adventure alive. Comment your thoughts on this inspiring ending and share how it made you feel. And don't wait not even one more second to share instantly this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this transformation. This is the moment to show your support.